Well, round two.
Round two.
With today, for the first time, spending a day with a real anime creator.
You can say that now. Oh my god.
What an honor.
Well, it's been a while. How long has it been? Like
8 months, 9 months.
Has it been 8 months?
Might have been even longer. Did we
my
film last winter? Yeah.
I thought it was like 3 months ago. That's what it felt like. Yeah.
Did the year pass like crazy?
Yeah, I know.
It was fast.
I kind of realized because I was having a look at our previous podcast we did together, and I was like, "Oh, you want me to come on again?" And I was like, I haven't read more One Piece since we last had a podcast. I was like, where am I at? Oh no, I haven't changed.
Why not? Why not?
Well,
no, you were very busy. Yes.
Yeah, I've been very, very busy working on a lot of projects, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But also just haven't had the time to actually watch a lot of anime in the past few months or read a lot of manga. And One Piece just kind of fell down in priority, mostly because I normally marathon that anyway.
Right.
And I see that Elbaf was still going strong. So I was like, and now with this latest news of how they're adapting the new arc in the anime.
You heard about that.
I heard about that. I was maybe I'll watch the anime. Who knows?
That's news from yesterday. You're up to date.
I am up to date with news.
It's it's almost as it's your job.
Yes.
Insane. No, I kind of wanted to actually get you on. I'm sure we're going to maybe get into One Piece here and there too, just because I think at least it's my go-to comparing stuff in terms of world building and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mostly did want to get you on to really talk about Baan and,
and
the entire creation
process.
Making
an anime.
Dude.
A YouTuber makes an anime.
And actually doesn't suck this time.
Thank God. I mean, every time I've talked about it, it's been me talking about it before it's been out, so I think this is one of the first time I've talked about it since it's been out. The post interview, because everything before was just me being like, I hope people like it, I hope it doesn't suck.
yeah
And
how was the aftermath?
The aftermath was pretty much what I expected it to be. I am more than chuffed with how it's gone down, how it's been received by people. And just the overall reception of not only people that are fans of me, but people that, Baan kind of went outside of my circle, and a lot of people watched it, maybe some people who had stopped watching me, and seeing all kinds of the feedback, both positive and negative, was just
I do have the exclusive merch.
You got the exclusive.
I got the exclusive preview
from
merch
the one time that we premiered it in Japan in cinemas, which I'm very, very glad that we were able to do.
That was really cool. In case people don't know, but because I think you're, at least by the time that this comes out, mid-late November, is your documentary already going to be out? Okay.
It is actually coming out tomorrow. So,
in that case.
in case you didn't know, hi, I'm Gigguk. I'm normally an anime YouTuber, but just recently I just premiered my first, my first anime OVA, ONA.
As an anime connoisseur, you went anime is cooked right now. I need to make my own.
You know what? There just wasn't enough anime in the world, so I just decided to make my own. And I released it for free on YouTube, and it's called Baan, The Boundary of Adulthood. And Manu was at the first Japanese premiere.
I went actually at the honor of being at both. Yeah, we had internal.
Yeah.
So I've seen it, I think, 4 times now.
4 times.
So
wow.
I saw it the first time in the little screening you did. Then the big one in the cinema, which people can obviously the documentary and the anime itself will be in the description.
Yes.
But I assume because you did film a little bit something behind the scenes also during the screening.
That's correct.
You rented out an entire movie theater.
I did.
Which is
it was Ikebukuro Sunshine Cinema. I just thought, because my entire philosophy with this one project is that I am going to treat it like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, because I don't know if I'm going to get this opportunity again.
And even if you do, it still is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So I was like, okay, whether this leads to more things or whether it doesn't, I'm going to treat this project like I cannot do this again. And what would I want to do? Well, it is a short film. It's only like an 80-minute short film. So normally, under any other circumstances, I probably would not have gone out my way to rent out cinema. But I was like, if this is my only chance, I want all my friends and all my co-workers to experience this in the best possible way it can be experienced in a cinema, even if it breaks the bank, just so that I can show this off to the people most important to me.
I mean, I'm sure you're going to get into it in the documentary, but because I also heard from Maylin, obviously, because I think once you started the process, I think she went around and was like, hey, in case you want to make an anime, tell us. It only costs this much to produce it. And I was like, sure, okay.
Only this much?
So never. Nice to know. So when you actually, because I think I personally first heard about it from you maybe like 3 years ago when we went on that skiing trip, and you were like, well, I'm writing something. We'll see where it goes.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I think you mentioned this in the last podcast where you're like, I think it was like something cryptic, like, oh, you have experience writing scripts. And I think out of context, people are like, what is he talking about? Because it was before I'd announced anything. But yeah, it's been in the work for, I guess, fully 2 years, but kind of like in my mind, slowly working on it for like 3 years, because this wasn't the first animation company I pitched it to. I pitched it to several before it actually got picked up by an anime studio, which I was very, very lucky about. But from then on, it was just every week there was something to be done with this project.
Crazy. I mean, I can imagine.
Yeah. So it basically just took over my life for like 2 years on top of all the other stuff. Like, I had to maintain the same schedule that I had been doing for my personal channel, Trash Taste, my streams. And then you add creating an anime on top of that. And I'm sure next time you see Sydney, she can tell you that I basically... We are married, but we definitely didn't have a marriage for like a good year.
I mean, even I remember we did like a lot of stuff, and you were like, dude, I gotta work on this project. I can't imagine. I mean, I think it's probably somewhere between like times where it's very hard saying no to stuff because you need to work, and sometimes it's also just like, must be really fun just being all in, locked in on like this.
It is
birthing process almost.
I mean, I would say it's the most creatively gratifying thing I've ever worked on. Like it's not even close. But I didn't get to spend much time with obviously Sydney, or, as you have personally experienced, didn't get much time to spend time with friends. Every time there'd be a meetup or something planned, normally I thought I would be able to make it in my schedule, and then something would come up last minute and I would just need to cancel. And luckily I have a lot of good friends where everyone was understanding, and now I get time to hang out with people again.
I'm very excited.
It's great to have my life back, man.
Cue the Japanese TV clapping sound effect. No, we're all very excited. I think it was very easy to just, because it was so obvious how passionate and how invested you were in that project. I don't know anyone who was like, oh yeah, fuck on for not coming around. I think everyone was very much aware how much it meant to you, and that it was going to be something special. I'm not sure if this is okay to talk about, but I know that obviously for Trash Taste, but also for your own channel, I think you're probably the person that puts the most thought into storytelling when it comes to videos. I'm not sure actually how much that applies to the podcast per se, but I do know for the special, for example, I once went with you guys on the journey through Japan, which was super fun, very intense. And while we were filming and everyone was half dead already, you were already thinking about how to put this into a story. I like that really blew me away.
I mean, that was a little bit different because when you're filming a special, it's obviously unscripted, so you kind of have to play the narrative, or you have to create the narrative as it's happening. And I think a lot of the early specials, I don't do the narrative in the specials anymore, because I've trained the team to be able to be like, okay, here's how to look at the footage, and here's what happened, turn that into a narrative. Because before, the narrative was basically handled by myself, and I would basically set the narrative of how each special would go. And I would even say in my own YouTube videos as well, a lot of people like to call me a critic, but I have never seen myself as a critic. But I do understand how, people can see me that way, because the way I talk about anime and the way I've always talked about anime is much more from a fan perspective. It's much more from an emotional perspective. I less talk about the technical perspective of anime, and I more like to talk about how it emotionally affects me, how an anime has moved me. Whereas, some other creators, maybe like, say, Mother's Basement, might look at it through a more critical lens, through a more technical lens. Right. And yourself as well, you are definitely go much deeper in terms of breaking down not only like theories, but story structure. And that's a whole other approach that I just have never been great at, I guess.
Really? Interesting.
I don't know if I've been great at it. It's just not been something that...
I think maybe you're doing it as a byproduct. I don't know. It feel because at least like from the outside, it feels like you are extremely clearly knowledgeable about storytelling. And I mean, again, we'll get into more of Baan and like how and I'm sure it made you a better writer by force as well. But I think you always, like, watching your content, kind of had like a really good knack for... what like, yes, you critique it as a fan and why how it makes you feel, but I do think you do have the know-how of the back end, kind of why something worked and why it didn't.
So I think I can do it, but it's not something that I've been interested in mostly put into my content.
Sake, since we're
I would love some
quick
sake.
note to the audience, since the big sake cups are so hard to actually come by with. And this one tastes a lot better, as we found out with Connor on ice. We're going to graduate to these today.
All right.
Cheers. It is 3 p.m. this time. So
yes, it is.
A reasonable time for alcohol.
That is really, really smooth. And that is worryingly smooth.
It is very smooth.
Yeah. It's almost like I thought I was just drinking water, and then...
But there is
like some aftertaste in there.
Maybe it is a little bit of water in there. We'll take it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, a lot of my videos much more come from an emotional standpoint rather than, I do have some times when I want to make a point about why maybe a certain scene or a certain character hit me so hard. Well, then I will break down the technicalities of it. But I never wanted to lose sight of, instead of me talking about an anime and me looking at the anime in its own bubble, this is my relationship with the anime and my story with the anime. And especially if you look at something like my best of anime, like, of the year, you will see that kind of structure with how I write about shows. And I think that's just because I've always taken, I think a lot of YouTubers, one important skill in for a lot of YouTubers is storytelling. I got interviewed like post Baan, and they were like, do you see yourself being the last YouTuber to maybe do a project like this? And I said that, outside of budget, which is, I think the
limiting factor.
Limiting factor. I think a lot of YouTubers I know have an innate ability to tell stories, because I think not only, even if you don't make content that is specifically around storytelling, you probably consume a lot of content around storytelling, because a lot of YouTubers, at least a lot of the successful ones, they're very good at telling their own story. And that's how you get audience invested in you, because you are able to effectively tell your own story, and then you kind of like package that into YouTuber content. But
I would also say that, and I'm not sure if you'd agree with this, but obviously YouTube has kind of evolved a little bit from what it once was. I feel like maybe TikTok and Instagram have taken the place of like the more casual putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
YouTube feels a lot more polished. Technically, it's a lot easier breaking and like into it, making content, because you can film on your phone, whatever.
Yeah.
But the amount of people I know who study editing and storytelling, and obviously, so, like, there is like the Mr. Beast formula of just being like, hey, like, never ever, you know, drop the ball. You can't be bored for a second, right?
Yes.
But even like that's like an extreme version of it. But in the end, a lot of thought, I think, for a lot of people goes behind, hey, how do I make this video not boring, right? In the end. And obviously there is a difference or like another level to it where watchable, not boring, actually makes you feel something. Or obviously,
well, I think it's story, like even in shorts and TikToks, a lot of the most successful shorts that go viral
formulaic,
have a certain storytelling aspect to it, whether it's just like, I went and did this, like even that, even that kind of like shorts content, there is a hook there. There is a hook there, and then there is a payoff at the end. That's why the short is successful.
I mean, it's really dumb, even if you take something like double it and give it to the next person. When you really break it down, it is like you kind of want to watch and find out who is egoistic enough to just take the debate, basically. Right? And then the video ends.
And then the video ends. You have a setup to hook the audience. You have your journey, and then you have the payoff at the end, and that's it. That's a complete short, and it's an inherent skill that you have to apply to long form storytelling as well, and also it's a skill that you can also apply when making your own original story. The big difference is that you're creating a whole different world with different characters, but the core concepts, I feel, are very, very similar when it comes to making a successful YouTube video.
The hero's journey.
Yeah.
I think even like one thing that I've noticed, and I am not as good a storyteller as say you or many other people I know, but just thinking about stories for your own videos, it kind of, I guess as a byproduct, made me a slightly better storyteller in my personal life, where I think you kind of get better at, like, oh, today I went to the supermarket and this happened and that, like actually like putting like, you won't believe what happened, right? Like it's kind of funny how this is a skill that's actually like surprisingly transferable to real life in a way.
Yeah, especially podcasting as well.
Very true. Very true.
Podcasting has helped me a lot in my storytelling skills.
I can't imagine. I think like one thing for this podcast specifically, because it's still like pretty much in its baby shoes at this point, is like sharing interesting stories is, I think, something I need to get better at.
Yeah.
Obviously on my main channel, like talking about anime and One Piece, it's you kind of have the material in front of you and you kind of, okay, this is what we do. And we kind of have a rhythm to it and a structure to it.
Yeah.
While talking about yourself is, I guess, also a skill that you kind of need to develop in a weird way.
I mean, we're YouTubers. We put ourselves online, so it's a weird skill that you have to develop that I was never like comfortable with personally until I actually made this my job.
Well, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
One question about storytelling before we really get into the meat and potatoes of Baan is storytelling like what's the story behind your storytelling journey? Is it something, because me personally, I've actually like got into it through YouTube and analyzing One Piece originally and some other anime, and that kind of in like a weird feedback loop kind of got me interested in reading books on storytelling and how to create movies and so on and so forth. Did you consume a lot of media around storytelling, or is it just something that you kind of like passively almost acquired?
I think it's something I passively acquired, and I think it's just obviously I consume a lot of media, but consuming media be my job, you kind of learn the skill of, instead of just passively consuming it, you're like actively consuming it. So, watching a lot of anime and watching it through a more critical lens, you kind of have to think, if you really think about, okay, this moment made me feel this emotion. What was like the journey to get to this emotion, right? And the way I kind of like applied that to my own YouTube content is, I think through working on Baan, I've kind of realized my storytelling style is a lot of the times emotion based. I have an emotion that I want to convey, and this has always been true with my YouTube videos, where, okay, I am talking about, let's say, Demon Slayer. Okay, I'm talking about the new Demon Slayer movie. How did that make me feel? That made me feel bloody excited, right? And my goal is I want my audience to feel what I felt when watching Demon Slayer, for example. So, I have my goal, which is to get the audience to feel this emotion. What are the steps I need to put into place in order to get my audience to feel this emotion. Which is why for me, I guess, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but to me, storytelling is basically engineering in disguise. it's
engineering the point. The emotion. Yeah.
Okay. I said this before, but when I was in the process of writing Baan, I absolutely loved the entire process, and not just in writing the story beats, but in the world building as well. The way I saw it, it is basically problem solving. It is basically you have a goal, you have an endpoint you want to get to, and then you need to plan the story beats to get to that endpoint, right? You have a character that starts in position A, and you need them to get to position B, and you need to plan all the little points to get there. And so you have this rough plan in place, and then you start mapping it out, and you're like, okay, this kind of makes sense, but this story beats here, I feel like the character would do something different. So you kind of like have to problem solve. You add another element to it, or you add something else. And then by adding another element, you're like, wait, by affecting this moment, that moment further on gets
kind of changed again.
Get the change. So you're always like shuffling things to make it work for your story. And that's not everyone's writing style, because some people, they just kind of like they kind of just take their characters, put them in a situation, and just see how the situation evolves. I'm much more of a structured, this is how it's going to go, I'm going to plan everything out.
Nice.
And that's always been the way for my YouTube videos as well, as you saw with the Trash Taste
specials. I was like very impressed actually by that, because I'm someone who script out his I script out my content usually. Yeah. And so I understand the process of structuring something. But at the same time, I feel like it's so much more almost anxiety inducing to think about doing that same thing to something you can't actually like properly plan, and doing it kind of in reverse the entire process, if that makes sense.
I mean the thing about that, the thing that working on specials has helped me, is that there's a story in everything. There's a narrative in everything. There's an emotion in everything. The trick is, how do you build it up, and how do you convey that so that the audience understands what you were trying to convey. And that, I think, is the biggest challenge.
Okay, let me try applying this to Baan then. First of all, if you haven't for some reason still not seen it, please pause the video, pause the podcast, watch it, then come back to this discussion. I'm just going to take a stab at what I think. We talked about it obviously, so I have a little bit of pre-knowledge, but I'm just going to take a stab at what I think your end goal with the story was. And then I'm very curious to ask you how you like kind of reverse engineered that.
Sure.
So the way that I understand it, from watching it and also from hearing what you wanted to convey with it, was kind of encapsulating the feeling that you have of being at home in like different places.
Yes.
Right. I think for you, that's Thailand and Japan, and maybe also the UK. Right. And kind of almost generating this emotion, even for people who maybe don't have the same feeling, right? Like conveying this feeling of being at home in 2 different or 3 different places, and kind of the sweet parts of it, where you can always come home somewhere, but at the same time you're also always leaving somewhere.
Yes.
Would you say that encapsulates it?
That would encapsulate it pretty well. For me, again, talking about emotions, I wanted to capture that feeling of coming home again after you've been away for a long time. So that was like the emotion I was trying to capture.
Did you take Rin, who is the main character, and Dai, who is, I guess, her adoptive father, you could say. Did you actively, when you say about engineering, getting to this emotion and this payoff at the end when Rin comes home to Dai and like sees her family again after kind of struggling, like making friends in Japan, but then kind of like struggling a little bit too with her personality, like fitting in, right? Yeah. Did you think about the starting point? Did you try to actively create a starting point that was very opposed to that payoff, and kind of like having that, or kind of forcing almost this amount of growth in the character, or how did you approach that?
Yeah, so I guess this comes down to, how does a story evolve? Because originally, Rin wasn't the main character. The first draft of the script, it was just Dai.
Okay.
Dai was the main character, and it was his story about going into a different place, a different world, because I wanted to capture that emotion of being far away from home and kind of like finding your home. And then it kind of turned into a dual story because I didn't want the messaging to read as, oh yeah, home sucks, go to another place, fucking just fly off to a fancy world, your life is going to be better. You know, it's...
Which, I mean, again, applying it to Japan specifically, I think both of us know people who came to Japan because they didn't like home and they just wanted to get away. But I think that's neither of our experiences, right? Yeah,
exactly. Because just because you move to a place, some people find their home in another place. Some people realize that their home is where they came from after moving away. Home is a concept that people discover as they grow up, you know. And so in order for me to achieve that kind of like messaging, I realized that I couldn't just tell one story. I needed multiple characters from multiple perspectives. And then after that, I have these two characters that's kind of almost come to a different answer themselves. They find a different personal answer. And then it was just kind of figuring out a way to connect those two, connect the two characters. And that's when I came up with the idea that
very your namey in a very your namey way almost. Yeah.
It's funny because a lot of people talk about the middle point where it's revealed that they're father and, you know, adopted father and daughter. A lot of people talk about that like it's a twist, and I can see, you know, I obviously see why, but I never kind of like intended to write it that way.
Right.
What kind of happened was I was mapping out their story and I wanted to show their experiences next to each other, just to show how different their experiences was, so that the audience can understand how they got to their different answers. And then right in the middle, I was like, if I show their experiences back to back, the audience don't know that these two timelines are taking place in a different time. That's
kind of interesting.
That's kind of an interesting thing. So it kind of just happened purely by coincidence, purely by chance. I didn't write it, you know, I didn't intend to be there to be like a kind of like twist in the middle. It was just something that, you know, happened organically as I was writing the story, because I don't think it changed. It was a nice little happy accident that didn't change what I was trying to achieve.
Interesting. I think it works incredibly well because it's almost this like meta element.
Yeah.
Where you wonder, okay, we have two protagonists.
Yeah.
Very clearly, they must have some sort of intersection.
Exactly.
And you kind of like, as you get into it, you're like, okay, what is it going to be? Because one character, like they're kind of in each other's worlds in a way.
Yeah.
So how are they even going to meet is kind of what you keep thinking about.
Yeah.
Until it's that, oh, they already met in the past. It's very interesting. So
yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that's, I mean, but I think this also, you say accident. I feel like it also comes from, as you say, like planning out things properly.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I learned a lot during, I learned so much during the process. And, you know, some things, they aren't planned. Like, for example, I talked about Dai being the original main character. One aspect I never thought about when writing my first story is this was something the director and the animation studio asked me. And they specifically asked me, you have two protagonists. And normally you would want the audience to relate to a main character. There needs to be one protagonist. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so they asked me, you need to pick between Rin and Daichi as the main character. And I did not know who to pick, because for me personally, I much more relate to Daichi's story in terms of he's a character that is much more closely resembles this journey I went through. So I wanted to pick him, but also I know that Rin was a much more charming character as well. And they basically asked me, okay, did you ever think about the age range of who you want to tell the story to? And that's something I never really thought about, because I always thought, I'm making the story for me. I'm making the story to convey something that I want to tell. I've never thought about marketability, age range, and everything like that. And they broke it down to me. They were like, if you want to go for a more mature audience, an older audience, then we think Daichi would be much more suited for a main character. However, if you want to go for teens to young adults, then we think Rin would be a much better fit to appeal to that age range. And a lot of how Rin ended up as the main character was literally I just went through my YouTube analytics and I was like, I was like, okay, this is the age range of my audience, and they're all like, okay, with this age range, Rin is much more suitable for the main character. And this was before character designs, by the way, because we kind of design characters for that kind of like for the type of story we're trying to tell. So this is when Rin and Daichi were just words on a page, and that's kind of like the considerations you have to make, and that completely changes the aesthetic of the world, and just the aesthetic of the project in general.
Interesting. How would you say these two characters are different then? I mean, I think the very obvious thing is, as you say, like the age range. Dai leaves, for the Isekai world.
Yes.
When he's in his early 30s or late 20s, or how old
I'd
is
say
he at that point in the story?
I'd say like mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Rin is very clearly like a lot younger still, right?
Exactly.
Like high school, middle school.
Yeah, just
age.
Rin is when she moves out, she is 19.
Okay.
So she is just kind of at that age where she's about ready to move to the adult world.
Okay, Luffy age.
Yeah, Luffy age. Do we know how old Luffy is?
I think when he starts, he's 17, and then he's 19 right now. In the story.
Okay. Yeah, Rin starts off as 19, and by the end, she is 20.
Is it 1 year?
Yeah, it's 1 year.
I think it is very well. That's the one big difference, obviously, the age range, but also you can kind of tell that, I think, at least in my interpretation of what I've seen, for Daichi, it's this, okay, I've tried to live the life I'm supposed to live here. Yeah. And it's kind of like not what is vibing with who I am as a person. So I think I need like a fresh start. His mom is obviously, you can kind of, I'm not sure if this is what was the thought behind it, but a little bit controlling and kind of like, you should do this in your life and get this job and get a good education, get a good job, do something, like do the regular thing. And he's like, no, I want to do something that I picked myself, and
exactly.
And I think for Rin it was more this kind of like adventure. I've never been somewhere else, kind of experiencing a new culture for the first time almost.
I'd say your read is 100% correct, which makes me happy that it was conveyed the way I wanted it to be conveyed. I think my biggest regret with the project is that, with the runtime we had, there was only so much that I could show in terms of their motivations and the inner conflicts that they were going for. So I really had to put trust in the audience to be able to fill in the gaps on what's, where these characters came from and what their motivations are. And I think a lot of that comes down to, you've obviously been through a similar journey since you're here in Japan. And I think if you have been on a similar journey as them, it's a lot easier to understand the mental place of like where they're coming from.
I think, personally, I'm not sure if this is a universal thing. I'm curious what you think. I personally think that this is always what authors or writers or directors would refer to as, respecting the audience. Because if you have shows that explain every single thing, like it's still consumable, and I think a lot of anime do this, right? Or like it's very easy to follow along what's happening, and it does make it more digestible in a lot of ways. But it is the pieces of media where you not only have like room for interpretation, but also you need to fill in certain things for yourself. Those are usually the stories people really like to talk about, because whether it's like I'm trying to think about some good examples like Lord of the Rings or something. Or like anything where it's kind of unclear, how we got from here to here and what happened, or like why is this character this way, and you have enough surrounding information to puzzle it together, which is different from not saying anything and just throwing it out there, right? So you do get the additional information, but you kind of, it's like, okay, I'm respecting your time as a viewer, and you're gonna figure out why this person is grumpy or why this person doesn't talk or whatever, right? And I think it makes for so much more interesting watching because it kind of asks you to actually pay attention to what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it just comes down to a storytelling style, because you always want to find the right balance of not overly explaining, but how much can you actually trust an audience to understand what you're trying to convey. I'll tell you the biggest critic of Baan initially, which was my mum. My mum is very, very used to watching a lot of, soap operas where people say how they feel. It's very dramatic. And she is used to a storytelling style where you are told everything you need to know about a character, their backstory, and what they're feeling and what they're going through. And I remember she was watching Baan, and she was like, "Oh, you need to put more explanation with what Rin was doing here, what Rin was doing there." And I was just like, "Mom, how do I explain that? That this
show don't tell."
This is kind of like a show don't tell. But it's weird because now that it's out, I've not only received praise for Baan, but I've obviously received a lot of comments and a lot of criticism about it as well. And it's so weird now being on the other side as a creator and as someone who has thrown criticism to some anime before. Now I kind of feel that a lot of the times when, at least at, a level of like making an anime, I'm pretty sure most creators, they kind of know what kind of criticisms will be thrown their way, because a lot of people have asked me, kind of like, has this changed the way you view anime now that you people are critiquing your own work? And I would say that I haven't seen or read any like piece of feedback that has surprised me. You know what I mean? It's super interesting because, even when I get negative feedback, I'm very, very grateful that someone took the time out to actually watch it, and it's meant something enough that they've had an emotional response that they want to give feedback over it. But secondly, like, I knew what kind of like weaknesses I had with this project going into it, because this project was made with with
a lot of limitations.
Yeah, a lot of limitations. And I think through the process, I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice with Baan, which is, do I spend more time kind of like explaining Rin and Daichi's characters, their internal struggles, and letting the audience know what's, letting the audience understand them a little more, but sacrificing screen time for emotional impact? Or do I kind of go full into letting some scenes have no dialogue, letting the audience get immersed and kind of like getting that emotional impact, but sacrificing the explanation of internal characters? And I went with the second option. And I think one of the real weaknesses of Baan as it is that to fully understand the characters and the conflicts that they're going through, it relies a lot on the audience member maybe experiencing something similar. And if I had even just like 5 more minutes, like some people have told me, "Oh, I think this would be cool as like a whole season or a whole like film." And I think, no, I think all I needed to really make this appeal to even people who haven't experienced what Rin and Daichi have gone through, I think 5 or 10 minutes would have been absolutely perfect. Because 5 or 10 more minutes, I've achieved this much with 18 minutes. 5 or 10 more minets is adding a third of the runtime.
Yeah, you can show a lot more contextual stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think the way that I thought this would be received is it would really speak to the people that have experienced something similar. But if you haven't experienced something similar, there is a high risk and high chance that they might not understand. They might not understand it, or it might alienate them a little bit. And that's kind of like matched up with a lot of the feedback I've gotten.
I think it's very interesting. For me personally, I did cry watching your anime, but it was not the first viewing. It was the second one. And I think like what I kind of like about Baan personally is that it kind of ripens and gets more context the more you watch it, because you have more time to digest little clues. You know the twist, right? So you're not as focused on that, or you can even like look ahead of like look at different like other elements. So I don't know, it touched me even more the second time I watched it, actually. Like I think the snow scene is obviously, I think that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for like well animated snow falling with cute anime girl in the shot. I think you said like max cuteness.
Yes, maximum cuteness.
Absolutely achieved for sure. But it's also like a feeling, I think. But maybe this is just me being able to identify with that moment particularly. I think that's definitely a fair point. I also do wonder. Because I went into the viewing obviously knowing how much work and effort you put in. Yeah. So I think maybe being aware or going in with the expectation that this is going to be like, it's going to have levels, it's going to have a lot of thought put into it. If I had just seen it, maybe, like, I don't know who made this. It's just like, I'm on the plane, I'm watching this. Yeah. Probably hits not as hard, I would assume, potentially. It was with the knowledge that this was something special to you and I should pay attention to it. Yeah. And I think maybe the lesson there is that I think we've all probably consumed media and anime that had we maybe given it our full attention and not just watched it like in the background while we're like taking a dump or something. Yes. Like, I don't know, maybe like actually spending more time with the media would reveal more. Again, like just to occasionally plug One Piece in this podcast, I do think that obviously it's also notorious for taking sometimes 50, 60 episodes for people to actually start hitting, just because maybe it doesn't achieve that same thing like right at the beginning, because it takes its time to develop the story. So I'm kind of curious how you think about that. And while you answer that, I'm gonna
open some more sake.
open this barrel that Geeks Plus has provided.
Yeah, I mean, like for myself, unfortunately you can't control the mindsets that viewers have when they watch what you made, and this isn't even about Baan. This is just general any content creator, any content creator, whether they be anime creators or YouTube creators or whatever. Which is why, like, I've personally, whenever I watch an anime or whenever I watch a movie or anything, I rarely want to watch it if I'm not in the right mindset to appreciate it. Like I
know what you mean.
Yeah. Some people just. This is why I'm not like a weekly anime watcher for a lot of shows, and the reason for that is because sometimes maybe there's a show or a movie, and I'm just not in the right mood or mindset to want to watch something like that. I'm not always in the mood to watch maybe something like Evangelion or something like that. Right. But
which I have to admit I still have not.
Yeah, which is fine. It's like there's one manga that I know I'm going to love, Oyasumi Punpun, but I know I need to be in a certain mindset to like fully appreciate that. And so it's more changed my approach when it comes to watching and enjoying films or media in general, where I never want to force myself to watch something out of a fear of missing out of it. I feel like there's enough media that there's something appealing for anything, whatever kind of emotional mood you're in. And some things can wait. I don't always need to be up to date. I will get there eventually, and when I do, I'm probably going to enjoy it.
I mean, I could not agree more. I'm not sure if this relates, but at least to me it does. I do own a Switch, but I never really got into any games properly. Yeah. Did you play Pokemon at all, or did you used to play?
I used to play when I was a kid, yeah.
So I haven't played in a long time, and then when Legends Arceus came out, I got the game. I was like, oh yeah, Pokemon, let's do it, open world. Yeah. And I played for like an hour, and I was like, this is not hitting the same way. But recently, I was a lot more, I don't know, I was like, I think more open. I've like been detoxing YouTube and social media really hard recently. Yeah. And so I think I've like allowed myself a little bit more to spend time with stuff, and actually got into the game, and I've been really enjoying it. Like I think a game for the first time ever. So I think I can really relate to what you're saying there. And again, I think not only your emotional context, but also where you consume.
Yeah.
Like watching it in the movie, probably in the theaters, probably was a massive difference.
I mean, do you not notice that you normally enjoy things when you watch it in theaters because you can't get distracted? And obviously there's a theater experience, but I think part of that is immersion, right? It's just being able to immerse yourself.
And I wonder if even like on top of it, I was like just realizing I was doing that. actually though, I'm kind of wondering if, because with the movie theater you go in with the like you kind of dedicate yourself, unless you're one of the people who's like, I'm gonna walk out of the theater if I don't like it. But it's different when you watch Netflix or something and you're like, I'm like a little bit boring, I'm gonna pause it, I'm gonna go to the fridge and get some food or something. Like, no, in the movies you gotta sit there and actually consume it and be attentive, and you can't be on your phone. And I definitely do think that plus the immersion effect like really does something. Probably the reason like movie theaters are still around also. Yeah.
And I think one thing I learned with Baan is that, my intention, I'm a YouTuber. I want to give it away for free without any limitations, which is why I put it out on YouTube. But now looking back, I'm not sure if like YouTube was the optimal platform for something like Baan, because I know this kind of like reverse engineering. There are a lot of like short films on YouTube, and I personally like watching short films, but I don't know, when you're watching on YouTube, there's something about clicking on a video and just knowing you have to like, oh, this is one of those videos where I have to like, this is main monitor stuff. I'm going to click on another video first.
For now.
And sometimes there's just like so many distractions. There's like recommended videos in the sidebar and all this stuff. And there's a difference in mindset when I load up a video on YouTube when, even just going on Netflix, you can pause and stuff. But when you're loading up Netflix, at least you're loading that up with the intention of watching I'm going to sit down and watch something for a while and not thinking about a 5-minute video,
It's almost a shame also, I feel. I mean, probably knowing the YouTube game, putting a 5-second disclaimer at the beginning, please watch this like at night with a glass of wine or something.
Exactly.
It's probably not great for retention.
Yeah.
But you almost want to tell people with stuff like this, like, hey, please enjoy this. If you're just going to watch it while like eating a Subway right now on the train, it's like, you're probably going to go like, nice.
Yeah.
I don't think, no matter what you watch, I don't think in like a certain environment, it's just never going to hit the way it's supposed to probably.
Yeah. And, that is just, unfortunately, that's just the reality of the world, and I've talked to a lot of people, and I've experienced this myself, where maybe they watch something that is maybe like everyone is praising, and maybe it just doesn't hit you for some reason. And for the longest time, you don't know why. And you're like, oh, it just wasn't for me. And I've had shows where I've come back to it and I'm like, why is this hitting so much more now? Was I just in the wrong mindset when I first watched it? This is just, damn, I'm getting emotional over this. And I thought it was like bloody mid before.
I'm not sure if I ever had that with an anime, but for sure with movies where you're like, oh, this is, you're like, you realize this is supposed to be deep, but you're like, I don't have the patience. For this right now, like the sad shots and stuff. And then maybe like, as you say, you come back to it like a year later and you're like, God, this is actually really good. But like the first time you see it, you're like, oh, all right, we get it. You're sad. It's like, come on.
It's like, okay, sad boy being sad.
I will say, are you happy with the performance on YouTube though? How it did?
I'm very happy.
Very nice.
I mean, it is something that I think, talking about platform and stuff like that, I'm genuinely surprised how well it's done, because for a short film like that, it obviously requires a lot more emotional investment than just clicking on a shorter YouTube review where I'm constantly talking. And I was, a bit concerned that it was going to be underperforming compared to my other YouTube stuff, which was, I was fine with. I didn't do this for views or anything. But there was that concern.
But getting them.
Yeah, there was that concern there where, if it does well, I'll be happy. I just want more people to see it. And it hasn't like completely overshadowed any of my other YouTube reviews, which I kind of expected just because of the nature of the content. But the fact that it's performing, I mean, it's a 1 out of 10. So what?
Oh, the good feeling.
What more can you hope for than
than
a 1 out of 10?
I will say, I think, because you did say maybe YouTube is not the right platform, and something we actually talked about before the podcast too, is I have recently learned with shock and astonishment that like over 30% of people, at least who watch my content, watch it on the TV, which is an insane number to me, because I think the last time I checked my device numbers statistics was like 4 years ago, and it was like, 80% of people watch it on their phone. And I'm like, that sounds about right. I watch everything on my phone. But no, it's shifted extremely hard to people like consuming YouTube apparently a lot more on the TV. So that might have actually positively contributed to
maybe
doing well.
I mean, I remember when I started YouTube, it was like, damn, what is this like mobile phones that people are watching YouTube on? Watch it on the goddamn computer
like a normal person.
Like a normal person. And then phones is like, obviously eclipsed desktop, and now desktop is like the old ancient one.
It's like no one watches on there, which is funny because that's how I actually mostly still consume YouTube.
But we're in the game. This is our job.
That's true.
It kind of makes sense in that way.
How has your relationship with like social media changed over the years? Because for me recently, I mean, I already brought this up, but like I've been very happy detoxing from social media overall. I'm not using X, formerly Twitter, anymore at all. I've never had Instagram, and I consume almost no YouTube at the moment, which was probably the thing I was most addicted to, honestly. Just sports stuff. But more sports stuff now, probably to compensate. But it feels kind of weird, personally, because that's my job and that's what I do, and I really enjoy creating for other people. But I feel very happy, like having like jumped off the hamster wheel a little bit. So I don't know. I like. Do you have a thought on that?
It goes in waves. I like detox, and then I jump right back in, and then I detox, and then I jump right back in. And the reason I jump right back in is 90% to do with just my job. It comes a point where I don't make a post for like 2 months or something, and I'm like, okay, I do need people to know that I do still exist. Unfortunately, that is just like a reality of our job, and it's kind of like trying to find a healthy balance in terms of still having to do social media, but not having it affect my mental health, which is a huge thing.
Oxymoron. do healthy Twitter.
Do healthy Twitter, which doesn't exist. I just post stuff about what I like, and I don't read any of the stuff or the comments or any of the discussions that's going on Twitter.
Garnt, do you not like people dying? Do you not enjoy watching that?
Look,
the algorithm picked it for you.
Look, if I wanted to see like if I don't know, it's just gotten so heinous where I'm like, okay, this is people dying, this is just racism, and I need to remind myself that the world doesn't work that way, and I need to remind myself that having a healthy conversation with a human is not representative of what happens on Twitter.
It really feels like a Black Mirror episode come to life in a way.
I mean, I feel like that's the reason Black Mirror doesn't hit as much anymore.
It's just because just life now.
Exactly. It's no longer just funny TV show. Now it's just, this actually is toned down of like what's going on in reality.
It's way more fucked up.
Yeah, reality is actually way more fucked up. People are actually more stupid than what media portrays.
I think maybe like kind of putting a positive spin on it. I think I'm very jealous that you got to create something that's not only meaningful to you, but also, as you say, like coming from that perspective of AI slop and everyone's on YouTube and everything's for the view and whatnot. I think that you got the chance to sit down and create something that is just like art, to put it very into like a simple, the simplest word, right, I can think of. I don't know. I'm because I do try to do that with my content, but also I publish quite regularly. And I do try to provide the quality that I can, the best quality that I can, but there is obviously so much you can do in like a 3-day turnaround or something. And also, in the context of reviewing a piece of media, which is where you originally come from as well. But again, like doing something so creative from scratch is very cool. Like I'm very jealous that you got to do that.
Well, even before Baan, my goal with my content and my approach to my content is that I always just want to make something meaningful. Something like, it's easy to forget that when you upload a video that real people are watching it, real people. And I got into YouTube because I didn't have any friends that were around me that enjoyed anime. So for me, YouTube was my outlet to connect with people that I could not connect with in my real life. Life has changed. I now have a lot of friends and people around me that enjoy anime and stuff.
And people in general love anime now.
People in general love anime now as well, but I've never lost sight of that goal with anything that I do, that I want to make some kind of connection with the audience, or at least there needs to be like a project that I'm working on in the background that enables me to do that. Because if I didn't have something like Baan, or if I didn't push myself creatively, I probably would have quit YouTube like 5 years ago. Because to me, at least, it makes let's say, not every piece of content I make is a banger. When I'm doing a stream reacting to anime openings, I'm like, okay, this is cool and all, but what am I really doing here? This is haha fun thing to put on the second monitor and stuff like that. And there is definitely like, a market for that, because I watch that stuff. But to me, that is not the stuff that makes a deep impact for me. And I've always wanted to make a deep impact with the people watching my stuff, that watching content, watching the content around me has made an impact, has had that same impact for me. And that's always been my goal.
I think that comes across in your content a lot too. I feel like I've definitely fallen in the past much more, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, during COVID also, like the Mr. Beastification of YouTube. And I mean, I do think anyone who wants to start YouTube and wants to, be successful, I think studying how YouTube works and having the know-how behind it is very important and valuable. But I definitely fell into the trap too, as you say, of, looking at the views too much, being like, how can I optimize the numbers? And kind of like realizing at a certain point, like, okay, this, like, as you say, what am I doing? Like, these are real people who actually are gracious enough to sacrifice some of their free time watching me, or, using my videos as, whether it's, to clean the kitchen, or actually maybe it helps them like feel less lonely or whatever it may be, or like enjoy One Piece more. I think ironically, like, as with it's one of those lessons you read and like read in all the books and see in all the movies, right? Is like, don't chase the numbers, don't chase money, and it's very easy to still fall into it. I don't know I think some lessons and you still have to make them yourself sometimes.
Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Okay, going back to Baan area, which is my personal favorite part of storytelling, I have to admit, and you might know what's coming as a One Piece YouTuber, is world building.
Oh, I was excited. I knew you were going to bring this up. Yes.
And I have been holding back with pestering you about world building questions.
Okay.
Because I do know, I understand, and I respect as a creator that the message is most important, obviously, and making sure, as you say for yourself, that the emotion comes across of the story. But I'm the type of person who really likes to know, hey, if level 4 exists, what's the highest level, and what do these other worlds look like, and how did they come up with Isekai traveling technology in your world? So could you give me and the audience a little bit of a little tour of the universe that you've created?
So what can I say? Let's talk about the mechanics of the transport system. So obviously you go up, and as you travel down, you get transported to a different place. And the way that works is the momentum of traveling down into that portal. The further you travel down, the more energy that you're able to, accumulate. So the higher that you start, the further away you go down.
Very Newtonian.
Yes. The higher you start, the more energy you gather. And so the further along in the world that you travel. So that's kind of like a mechanic that we kind of like came up with in terms of, okay, how do people get from like point A to point B while also adding a little bit of fantasy elements to there.
Can I quickly ask you, do these places exist on the same planet, or is it like actual jumping dimensions?
It is a different planet. I don't want to spoil too much just in case I decide to use the world lore in, because I will say that the world and lore that we've created has given me an opportunity to explore stories outside of the story that we have just shown. But there are other worlds. Some of them, some of the worlds have, been explored a lot more than other worlds, which is where a lot of these danger levels come from. Some are a lot more uncharted, and some, like Euthania, at least when Daichi traveled there, were much more on the cusp of just kind of like discovering this new place, and they hadn't fully explored and hadn't fully I should say they hadn't fully politically, had gotten into a stable place together, which is why when Daichi traveled there, it was like much more of a rarity for a human to travel over to Euthania, which is why you see a lot of people getting off the level before Daichi to travel in a place that is, where the infrastructure is right there, where, as opposed to Daichi, when he travels there, the infrastructure is not as well built as...
So the lower the level, it's kind of like, when I go to a level 1 area, it's kind of like traveling.
Yes.
In our world, kind of like,
exactly.
They're going to take a trip there. It's like, we know each other. It's like, there's air conditioning and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
Is humanity kind of like the dominant, or like our world, the dominant world there that actually came up with that tech, or is that also something
technology? So the only reason that Euthanians don't need the same kind of like tech as humans do is that they can just fly up to the portal. And I would say that the portals did appear, and there is a backstory behind how the portals appeared in the world and what kind of like evolution society took when those portals appeared. That's a completely different story.
You want to say it? Okay, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, that is a completely different story. But the portals basically appeared at the same place in all of these different places.
Worlds,
and a lot of the technology in the human world has been mostly born out of our research and curiosity, because our technology level is, at least compared to something like Euthania, our technology level is a lot further along than in Euthania.
I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and you can always, if you want to save something, you can just let me know that you're not going to answer this.
Sure.
Have there been any wars in your world in the past due to like just, there's a portal to another, we should probably go there and make that our place? Like,
there has not been, actually. Yet. Yet.
Okay.
And the main reason is because right now there is not humanity hasn't discovered a resource in order to financially want to viably make a war. If they do, then I think that would be a much bigger motivator.
Fair enough.
But right now, I would say that humanity's relationship with what goes in the portal is much more at an exploration stage, at least with all the different levels.
And I assume that the different worlds are also not only culturally different, but also in different development stages.
Yes.
Have you? How many of these worlds have you roughly at least mapped out?
So the only fully fleshed out one is Euthania right now, but I have ideas about concepts for other worlds outside of like the reason I want to start with Euthania was because I wanted something based on like Southeast Asian kind of like fantasy world feeling, which is something I hadn't seen before. If I get to explore some of these other worlds with different kind of concepts, which I don't really want to spoil, then maybe we'll get to, maybe we'll get to that point. But my kind of like intention with having some of these different worlds that maybe have a different feeling from Euthania is I was kind of giving myself I was kind of trying to future-proof myself in case I wanted to tell stories of other genres. Because to me, Euthania represents a genre of storytelling that is a lot more warm, a lot more close to home. But I do have a lot of ideas for a lot of stories in a lot of different genres.
All right, very excited. The conductor ghosts, as I'm going to call them. Why are the people teleporting you? Why are they kind of transparent? You can like see through them.
So they are actually AI.
Okay.
Yes. You noticed that? Wow. Yeah. So
I looked very closely at your anime.
Wow. So the conductor ghost is what we essentially imagined in the near future, where ChatGPT hasn't essentially taken over, but you look at fucking Grok, AI has an avatar, and large language models, people are more likely to accept large language models if there is a face behind it. And so the conductor is essentially just an AI that controls the transport system.
So what you're saying is you wanted to have that moment 3 years from now where you're like, I told you so.
It was more something where we were in the discussion about technologically, if we could build a structure like this, which, the structure in the actual structure of the teleportation system itself, we had to have a conversation about where technologically do we want this to be. Originally, the director wanted the structure to shoot off into space. And and I was like, okay, that is getting to hard sci-fi. I was like, because it's funny, because I was a huge fantasy fan, and the director is a huge sci-fi fan. He grew up with like Gundams and a lot of like the OG mechas and stuff like that. So he was like, it would be cool to add this element, have it go off into space. And I'm like, we don't have the technology right now to build a space elevator. Well, I mean, we do, but there is a lot of technology trees we would need to unlock in order to build something like that. And I was thinking, okay, let's think about this like, something along the lines of having the Burj Khalifa, something that humans can build today, but it would still be an engineering challenge, but we would still be able to achieve something like this in the near future. And I was thinking, in the near future, well, AI is probably going to be a thing. I don't know how big it's going to be, but it's probably going to be a soft aspect into there. So there'll probably be some kind of AI or some kind of automation in this. And I personally think that when this happens, there's going to be more kinds of like AI avatars that is just going to come out in the future. So that's
I mean, if it's funny, ghost conductors, I can go get on board with that, but it's probably not going to be that, is it?
Yeah.
Is it if I remember correctly, the building, the tower itself is built, is it Tokyo Bay? Is it like in the water or?
Yeah, it's in Tokyo Bay.
Okay.
Yes.
So around Odaiba.
Yeah, so there are a few portals all around the world.
Okay.
Humanity did not have control over where the portals were, but it is not the only portal within the world itself.
I think it's very interesting when you say, because as you say, like there's a certain sci-fi aspect to it, but then again, the Japan that we at least interact with in the story feels just very contemporary, right? Yeah. Overall, is there, except for the portals themselves and the towers around them, is there anything technologically unique about like our world in your story world that we didn't really, because I don't think really that was almost like the standout technological feature, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it is not that technologically different. The only thing I imagined was, okay, this portal appears in our world. is it going to revolutionize everything? No, but I think there would be genuine human curiosity about this portal. And I think there would be a lot of, there would be motivation in terms of exploring this portal. So that's why I wanted, that's why I wanted some kind of technology around this portal, but nothing too far ahead, nothing too sci-fi than what you would imagine in the real world.
I kind of also like the aspect. I mean, I think Rin's story is a lot more. Actually, now thinking about it, I think both stories are a little bit unconventional because Rin isekais into our world technically, right?
Yeah.
But she kind of has she already has magic powers, but brings them with her here and is kind of like against using them.
Yeah.
While Dai goes into a magical world, but just stays a regular dude basically, right? Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. And, I would say that I wanted to keep the magic system kind of simple, because the way I saw about it is if magic, I didn't get to explore this part of the world, which is something I can say in terms of the world building, but what is humanity's relationship with people who can use magic? I got a few comments asking me, why could Rin not get to, it's not important to the story, but I did get questions like, why didn't Rin get a job regarding her use in, her magic use? Because I'm sure there is a lot of jobs that would appreciate some people who could use magic. And, I knew the answer to that, which was there is limitations into how much you can go, how much you can use magic for. You can't just, lift up buildings or lift up weights infinitely. So in terms of like constructions, it's like limited. But a big thing was that there is a lot of litigations about using magic in our world, especially in a country like Japan. The way I thought about it is that it's, you can be a gun owner in Japan, but you need a license for that. With magic being introduced into our worlds, I imagined it to be very what's the word?
Institutionalized almost.
Yeah, or
restricted. Yeah,
very restricted. You are allowed to use. Certain people are allowed to use magic, but it is
can't open carry.
Yeah, you have to have a license. Okay. You have to have the proper permits to use it in the proper place, and if you don't, then you are doing something that you shouldn't be doing. And obviously, this comes in different stages. Obviously we have Rin accidentally exploding like the headsets and stuff, which obviously she got in trouble with. But even so, there was a few scenes that I wanted to include, which is, showing off this part of the world where Rin unknowingly uses magic. Maybe she flies off, but she gets a talking to from a policeman.
That's kind of fun. I like that.
Yeah, just to show. Unfortunately, we couldn't do due to time constraints. But there is an aspect to the world where it's how Japan has adapted to people having the ability to use magic in our world.
Okay.
And I would say that they haven't completely shut off the use of magic entirely in society, but it is heavily regulated. Heavily regulated.
Interesting. I mean, maybe if you wanted to be very nitpicky, I guess like the most unrealistic part of it is that probably if you had a cute girl from another world with energy wings, like half of Japan she would immediately be an idol probably. If we're being realistic.
You know what? I'm gonna spoil this right now. That was draft 1 of Rin's journey. She wanted to be an actress / idol, and
half of Akihabara would
yeah. It's so funny how you thinking about this was like, because this is what I'm talking about. It's like reverse engineering. She was originally, her main motivation was she wanted to be an actress / idol. And the only reason we could not tell that story is because, with the limited runtime, through the restructuring of the scripts, we needed a simple enough job for the audience to understand without having to set up the stakes of her going through auditioning or her, getting rejected from different idol agencies and being taken advantage of. That's, it really makes you think, okay, sometimes I need to get a point across, which is Rin struggling. How can I get that point across with the limited runtime that we have in the simplest way that we could, which is why she ended up in a call center. I
mean, I think it almost, it's very pleasant to watch because you almost get it's very interesting that you say that these worlds are still kind of figuring each other out, because it almost reads as, kind of like there is no racism, right? It's like, yeah, people, it's like, we're chill. We have like magical, like people can come here and like just work in the call center, which is nice to watch. But yeah. Okay, that's very interesting that was part of the first draft.
Well, it's like having built my own world with this story, it has infinitely made me appreciate like a world like One Piece, which is infinitely more complex than what I've been able to do thus far. And it's just, it just made me appreciate how much work goes into world building, because it took so much effort and so much time. We actually, a lot of anime projects run behind schedule. Ours was no different, and a lot of that was just the amount of work that needs to go into, even for creating a simple story like this and telling a simple story like this, creating...
It's also a little bit the curse, I guess. The more successful your story is, which obviously is what you want, the more tight your world building needs to be, because otherwise you kind of run into the Harry Potter scenario where why isn't everyone using time turners? Oh, we just ran out at the time turner store, I guess. They didn't make them anymore. Like, like a lot of stuff where, the more time people spend with the story, you're kind of like, okay, this doesn't work out super well, right? And so I do agree. I mean, like, again, I think that is the part of One Piece that really shines. It's not, I think the battles are fine in One Piece. I think the power system is fine. It's a good one. It's not what makes One Piece to me like the top tier anime that it is. It is the worlds behind it, and I think it's exactly because Oda is notorious for doing what you talked about earlier too, which is really like planning the very important points out very clearly, and then but leaving like space around it to explore and have fun with it. And there are a lot of additions that he did to the story that still work, even though they were maybe improvised in the moment, but they still work because he has the rules laid out and he knows where he wants to go. Exactly. Yeah.
And I would say, like, in terms of world building, it, at least in my approach, it has also made me appreciate what goes into world building as well, because sometimes you create a cool world that you can fully dive into and fully dissect, but it always needs to be a world that, as with everything, it always needs to be a world that is structured to tell the story that you want to tell. I would say the one moment that really, really helped me was I went to a panel at Anime Expo, and it was from the creators of the Trail series. Are you aware of the Trail series?
I'm aware. I've not consumed
I would call the Trail series the One Piece of JRPGs. So to explain what the Trail series is, it is a JRPG series that has been going on for, I believe, 10 plus years now. There are like 10 games or something like that, spanning across, and it is one ongoing story. It is one ongoing story, and after 13 years with like 10 plus games, we are half of the way through the story, I would say, as a Trails fan. But the reason it's been able to tell a story for so long is because it has got one of the most complex worlds in gaming, I believe, and every game centers around a different country. So you have you have this world that it's built, and every game is structured around a story arc within a certain country, which is why I say it's similar to One Piece, because it's similar in structure to
the different islands
and stuff. The big difference in Trails is that every game you can have a new protagonist. And sometimes the protagonist of a previous game is a side character in like a future game. So it's an interconnected world with characters that go in and out of each other's stories, and it's just a big universe. And so very, very similar like to One Piece in terms of scale. And I went to this panel with the creators, and they talked about how they went about creating this world, because every country has a different vibe, is different technologically as well, and has a different culture. And I was curious about what even goes into making a world this vast. And they basically broke it down into, so when making a world, they started off with obviously the story. They had a story they wanted to tell. They wanted this country to be in conflict with this country. And that's how it starts. It starts with this. This country needs to be in conflict with this country, and this country needs to have a relationship with this country. Okay, we have the rough plan in mind. That's the story we want to tell for this arc. What country what would have to happen for this country to be in conflict with this country culturally, maybe technologically, maybe there's some kind of resource that this country has that this country wants or something like that. And it was like a lot of reverse engineering, around kind of like what is the story you want to tell, and kind of like almost like you're planting a seed. You have your seed, and it kind of like builds, the world kind of like builds around that. And the more seeds you plant, the more complex it is, and the more things to keep in track, to keep track of.
That's so fascinating, because I think one thing you often read when you read about how to world build technically is that the ideal state is that you don't really, as you say, you just plant the seeds, but then the world grows kind of naturally around it. Same for characters, right?
Yes.
You write you give the characters, you have the rules established and where they need to go, and then the story kind of writes itself almost in like retrospect, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I would, this is obviously their kind of like technique. I'm not sure if Oda kind of used the same technique, but it was a technique that I remembered and I kind of like used in Baan as well, because when making the main city in Euthania, one of the first things that we added to this world was, it was like, imagine just like a plain landscape. What did we add to it? We added the Naga creature. We added this mythological kind of like serpent creature, and we're like, okay, if this creature exists in this landscape, how does this change the landscape? And we were like, okay, well, the Naga is, in Thai mythology, it can control the flow of water and the flow of rain, because it's a water serpent first and foremost. So we planted it right in the center, and we were like, okay, if it controls the flow of water and rain, there's probably going to be some kind of waterfall there, maybe. So maybe all of the water in this area is concentrated around this one area. So what does that mean? Well, if there is a human-like settlement, they would, in history,
need to be there. Yeah.
Humans would want to settle near bodies of water, as has been dictated by all of human history. So the humans would want to settle next to this Naga nest. What does that mean about the relationship with them and the Naga? That means they would have to have some kind of, healthy, friendly symbiotic relationship. And so just by adding this one thing, the world just kind of started forming around it. And it was so like weird and magical to see. By just, we had a blank piece of paper, we added this one thing, and then suddenly, just by adding this one thing and thinking about it, it just kind of like
interesting
formed around it.
That is so
formed
fun.
By itself.
I do remember you talked specifically about, the fact that this is the only source of water, on the island, and how that kind of, there is this whole geography behind this one island that's probably just one island in like a bigger world altogether, right? And And it really is on screen for, maybe like 4 minutes of runtime or something. Yeah.
It is. But, it's like, I'm glad, to me, to the audience right now, it's only on screen for like 4 minutes of runtime or whatever. But in my mind, it exists. It's out there. And it takes a lot of work to just have something like that exist. And
I also think like once obviously it is birthed, as you can say, you can go back to it much more easy.
Yeah.
Right. And
it just like sometimes this is the groundwork you need to put into place just to make something feel real, I guess, feel lived in. Because there is, I have read a lot of stories and I've watched like a lot of anime where it feels like the world is there and is like exists for the purpose of the protagonist and the protagonist alone.
But they feel a little bit out of place.
Yeah. And there is,
NPC-ish.
Yeah, exactly. It's there are, especially in the Isekai genre, there are worlds that exist that seem to form around the protagonist itself and seem to exist for the sole purpose of the anime. And that's not the kind of world building that draws me in. The kind of world building that draws me in is worlds that feel lived in, worlds that still exist, whether the story exists or not. And in my mind, that's how I view the world, my world of Baan.
Okay, I'm gonna put myself out there because I actually don't know your opinion on this anime specifically.
Okay,
I'm in general, as same as you, I think. I think probably like 80% or maybe even more of isekai are so formulaic and just try to be this like almost like power or like whatever, like fantasy, right? And like I want to be somewhere else and have like crazy powers and everyone thinks I'm the greatest, and we kind of like that's how they're structured. One I personally really love is Slime.
Slime's great,
and it's for me exactly like, yes, he is this overpowered like almost godlike creature very quickly, but it's much more about like nation building and the politics behind it. And I think that is just so fun. Like you kind of watch it more as like developing this village and this like this town, and like, he has to form alliances. I don't know. It is very, I think the crazy powers around it are kind of fun.
Yeah.
And it's I think the power fantasy in that case is like I'm just strong enough to like do politics and like build something. But I don't know if you happy to hear that you like that one too.
Oh yeah. I have a soft spot for kingdom building isekai, and if you like Slime, I have like 3 other titles I can recommend.
Yes, please. I've actually, fun fact, because I've been reading it on the train. I actually got the light novel recently. For Japanese practice.
Oh,
too.
Hell yeah.
So it was on my mind.
My man's turning into an isekai trash man.
So, because I don't know, I think the anime is really good, but I heard that the story around it gets very interesting, and so I kind of wanted to read ahead a little bit.
Well, that's one isekai where I've really enjoyed the world building as well. It's something I love the politics of Slime. I love how the main core progression in the story is around the political side of things. I mean, I like how the main draw is like the political side of things, and that I'm happy you read Slime, or happy you watched Slime, because isekai has a bad rep, but I would say that not every isekai is built equal. Sometimes it's same with a lot of shows. Sometimes you watch the first episode in isekai and some are very cheap, just pure power fantasy, junk food, and some have genuinely great world building, and obviously great characters as well. And you can definitely tell within one episode, I feel, how much thought has been put into this world. I mean,
I genuinely like because as we said, like this was probably, I don't even know what the first isekai would have been, right? But that was probably fun once, maybe. I don't know, like, being very strong and like, cool, what every kid kind of like dreams about is like, oh man, if I had like crazy powers and I go somewhere else. I think much more interesting is the the stories that take the isekai format and actually take it a little bit too seriously. Have you watched, I ask people this always, and I think everyone always says no, have you watched Endor? The Star Wars prequel thing recently? Okay, no. Strongly recommended, because it kind of does the same thing where it takes the concept of Star Wars, which is kind of like sci-fi fantasy by design, and takes it to like it's absurd, like takes it seriously to an absurd. Or like what actually are like the fascist politics behind this? Well, like what drives people into like, what does this look like realistically? And I think that's the stories I like, whether it's like Mushoku Tensei, right, where it like takes this kind of like, oh, you have this perverted old guy who kind of like dies in his room, right, and then is like, and you're like, yo, this is like the worst dude ever, and he kind of needs to rehabilitate himself almost, right, in this role, or ReZero, which I don't know, you probably know more about than me. I felt like I was struggling. Is it season 3 that came out this year? Or
season 3 came out.
I kind of struggled getting into that, but obviously, and maybe I didn't give it enough time when we talked. But I think the concept of it, where like someone gets reincarnated, and they just have to die over and over, like in a really, it's a fun take on it, and I think that kind of like makes these a little bit more stand out to me.
Yeah, and I would say even like, for ReZero is an example that definitely does have a very well fleshed out world with its own politics that doesn't really get touched upon in season 1, but definitely now coming into season 3, you see how this world has formed, and it is a very well thought out world. I honestly didn't, I enjoyed ReZero, but I remember the first time watching it, I don't think I fully appreciated the story it was trying to tell. And I think I actually rewatched the second season in preparation for the third season. And I don't know, on my second rewatch, I definitely appreciated it a lot more than when I first watched it.
Yeah, I think it was really good. I think, again, maybe I need to give the third season. I think it just starts. I think the fact that the first episode kind of kicks off, it's a very long one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's like 40 minutes.
Yeah, and it just starts off with, which obviously, okay, things are going to get more messed up again. But the fact that Subaru is now kind of has established himself. He's not this like kind of like dirtbag character anymore. Right. And is actually growing. For me, it almost took a little bit the wind out of the sail, but then maybe I'm sure something comes to replace the tension.
How far did you get into?
Just the first episode.
Just the first episode. I would say that season 1 is much more like, it's very much a thrill ride, because it's kind of like, oh my god, he's dying, he's trying to get past this like time loop,
gory.
The second season you really see some strong character development. It's a much more quiet season than season 1. Someone called slower, but
I think season 2 I personally found stronger even than season 1. Because even though it doesn't have like the same goriness per se, I think some of the like when Puck like turned or like the ice bunnies or whatnot, I feel like that's like a cool level of horror. It's maybe not as gory as someone like being stabbed in the gut or something, but I found it almost like more intriguing in a way.
I mean, it makes me think of like a show like Attack on Titan. Seeing the evolution of that show, where the second season was a lot more quieter, and when that came out, people were like, I remember the general consensus was, season 1's still better. It's a lot more things happening. But looking back, season 2 was not only bloody amazing, but I think it was a much needed season as well. And
establishing all the characters.
It was season 2 where I actually started to care about the characters, and I think in season 1 it was such a thrill ride where you didn't know who was going to die, people were dying left, right, and center. And then season 2 was, let's slow things down and let's actually,
I mean, arguably the Game of Thrones Formula 2 before they messed it up in the end.
Yes, exactly. But unfortunately, I feel like there will always be, no matter how much thought is put into, let's say, world building and stuff, and kind of like storytelling that takes a lot more time to establish, there will always be, at the end of the day, storytelling is a business, and there will always be a market for power fantasy stuff.
For sure.
People just want
the harem classic, whatever.
Well, look, what's the most successful modern anime to come out internationally? Solo Leveling. This isn't a dig at Solo Leveling. It is a great show for what it is. It is about as good as you can get for, I want to turn something on and give me some
I think
power.
Yeah,
power fantasy.
I think the problem is that he has like his character arc is losing personality but not in an interest. It's not like the like getting corrupted by power kind of thing. It's just like I have a 6-pack now.
He has aura. He has aura. Nah, I mean it's funny.
Like I always show up after half the people have already died.
Yeah, it's funny because every time I bring solo leveling up, at least on camera, it always sounds like a dig. I generally like solo leveling.
Yeah, no, the fights are super cool. Yeah,
it's generally like a really, really fucking fun show. You know,
but it's not exactly like the character development that's like great in it. It's just.
I mean, I would not point to solo leveling as like the peak of character development.
One show I was actually fairly disappointed in was Shield Hero, because I thought that had a really fun setup in the first season. Because I kind of like the idea of it's a bit similar maybe to ReZero, but you're kind of getting reincarnated.
Yeah.
Like you're the hero, and then kind of everyone hates you, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of need to dig your way out with like unorthodox methods.
Yeah.
It kind of, I don't know, like season 2 was already pretty bad. Season 3 was kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, that is actually an example of like, I enjoyed season 1 for just the revenge plot. And when they like fully explored that, my interest in Shield Hero kind of dropped off. Even though they were doing like some other things in season 2. I haven't watched season 4 yet.
Is that it's just coming out right now?
It's just coming out right now. But I did watch season 3, so I have watched a lot of Shield Hero, and I would say that my biggest problem with Shield Hero is that maybe not the worlds, but at least the characters and how they are written, they all feel like, talking about forming around the protagonist, they all feel like everything revolves around this main character instead of existing outside of the main character.
Right.
Like one big issue that I just couldn't stop thinking about was, everyone, like, Naofumi is smart and heroic, not because I feel like he's smart or heroic, but because everyone around him is just dumb.
Okay.
I feel like him compared to the other heroes. I'm like, yeah, of course he's the fucking heroic one. Of course he is, because everyone's dumb as fuck. All these other heroes, they don't give a shit. They make dumb decisions, and so instead of selling me on this feeling that Naofumi is like the smartest character. Naofumi is the smartest character in this world because everyone else in this world just can't think for themselves.
Okay, that's super fun. Okay, you should really. I think you're gonna enjoy. You're not a big Star Wars person in general, I assume, right? But I'm
in and out.
Definitely check. Andor is so good because I think the two best things about that story is applying like an absurd level of realism to Star Wars. To like what it's not supposed to be, but like let's take it seriously, and it gets really spooky.
Okay.
The other thing is you have genuinely smart villains that do only smart and realistic stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're competent.
Yeah.
And so the good guys need to be even smarter and come up with even more creative stuff to actually outsmart the bad guys, because they are genuinely smart.
Yeah.
And that makes such an interesting watch.
Because one of my favorite manga of all time, outside of One Piece, is Kingdom.
Fantastic.
Have you read it?
I have read. I'm reading it still.
God.
But the anime, I will say, is a bit.
I heard it gets a bit better in next seasons, but
the manga is great. Yeah.
Oh my god! One thing I really appreciate about Kingdom is it's one of those few shows where, like I said, normally narratively to show that a character is smart, a lot of the times another character is dumb. So to build up the smart character, you have him set a trap. And this other person doesn't set the trap, but it's like the most obvious trap of all time. In Kingdom, I feel like I'm watching a chess match between two grandmasters.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, it's such high level tactics that I don't even see the big picture. But when the big picture is revealed to you, like these two generals, they both have their own tactics that get revealed slowly to you. And it's just insane that
it's strategy porn, basically.
Yeah, it is. It genuinely is. And you don't think these characters are smart because the narrative is telling you they're smart. You genuinely feel like these are two geniuses at work because
you feel dumb.
You feel that because you genuinely don't know what kind of world, what kind of battlefield these two characters are seeing. And you have this feeling with Kingdom, which is such a hard thing to do, which is you have two smart characters going at it, and you really genuinely feel that one person is thinking 100 moves ahead, but the reason the other character won is because they're thinking 101 moves ahead. And it's a masterpiece.
No, it's a great story.
I agree.
I'm still finishing it right now. But
yeah.
Again, I mean, I think it's similar to One Piece. I think the manga seems far superior to the anime. Yes. But yeah, again, I think what you mentioned about Slime too, I'm very happy actually, because again, it sounds like you went past just the anime.
Yes.
So I'm excited to read it. Though I'm again not sure how easy it's to understand in Japanese, but I mean that's the thing I mostly appreciate about One Piece.
Yeah.
Especially now in the end game.
Yeah.
Is I love stories where things seem wacky and quirky at the beginning, and you're kind of like, okay, this is just the world that this author has built.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, the more time you spend is like, oh, there's reasons for everything. Kill la Kill, I think, is a great example of this.
Damn, I was not expecting that. I was like, damn, Kill la Kill, we're going to Kill la Kill. Okay, I'm
have you seen it?
Yes, of course I've seen it.
So you kind of like go like 60-70% into that story, thinking like this is just like the most quirky, weird shit ever.
Yeah.
And like suddenly it's just this like rug pull, like, no, yeah, there is like thought behind this entire world and this town and everything. Like, what?
It's like I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah. Which I don't know. I love things that feel, because it's very smartly done too, because it makes it very approachable to like a broad audience.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a trap where like you're watching it because it's fun, and then it gets more tense and you're like, oh, I'm invested, and it gets more serious and more tense, and like suddenly there's all these like explanations and it's like, what? I don't know, like I love that type of world. It's when you think about it, Lord of the Rings is kind of the same thing, because you start in the Shire, which is low-key the least complex, most like easy to understand tutorial region of this entire world, and from there you suddenly go into like thousands of years of history and languages and culture and whatnot. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, when a world gets to that level, you know, as an author, you can just like the world exists and you just press the play button and you just see the history unfold. You know? And it always, like, when I was a kid, I never understood, because you'd constantly hear the authors say, you know, sometimes you hear author interviews, and I'm sure Oda's done something similar where, you know, people ask him about a character or maybe something that happens, and then they were like, oh, the character kind of acted in this way. I wasn't expecting them to. And the audience like,
you're
didn't
writing
you write the characters? And now I'm making my own characters. I fucking get it, man. Sometimes you think something is going to happen, and then you sit down with a pen and paper, or like me and like my screenplay, and you're writing it, and you're like, they're doing something different.
But I feel like usually that's a good sign that you have a good character. Yeah. Because you've established who they are. And even though you maybe had a plan for them, right? In the end, they do something that is makes a lot more sense to them, right?
Yeah.
It's like, actually, why would they do this? Actually, no. Right? Yeah.
Because, you know, even when you're making characters, a lot of what you're missing is nuance. And every layer you adds a little bit of nuance to their character and a little bit more understanding to their character. One of my favorite interviews is with Quentin Tarantino.
I think I know which one you mean.
Yeah. When he was talking about, I think he was talking about Inglourious Bastards, where he had trouble casting. What's his name? Like
Lander, right?
Landon. I couldn't remember. It was Lander and Landon. And he talks about, you know,
Christoph Waltz.
Once he found Christoph Waltz made him understand his own character better than he had ever done before. And I watched that interview before making Baan and after making Baan. And now I like I understand that so much, because there is like, I understood the type of people Rin and Daichi were when they were words on a page. And then I see their character designs, and I see what they're wearing, and I see how they style their hair. And that already changed a little bit of the types of people they were, just in little ways, right? Just in little ways, just because, you know, maybe they don't, you know, maybe they don't stand the way you think they're going to stand, or maybe they wear different clothes that you thought they were going to wear. And you don't realize that all of these little things add up, because, you know, you have a certain fashion choice that is dictated by by your life experience and the way you want to present yourself. And that's a subtle way that might not have changed with your core backstory and motivation, but it does affect maybe a certain line or a certain way you'd approach a certain situation. And then you add on to that voice acting. You know, you add on to that voice acting, and the best the best way I can describe this is we've had stories that have been remade using the same characters with different actors, and you would say that the two actors played the same character, and yet they brought their own version of the character. So even then, you're adding another layer where the character changes just a little bit, you know.
Especially in anime, where I think it's underappreciated how much the voice acting and sound design actually bring these like static images to life often, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So your understanding of your own characters can change as a story evolves. And you always, a lot of like other authors I've talked to has had the same kind of like, sometimes they get to a situation where they need the story to go one way, but the character
pulled in a
different direction, and it's always this push and pull of like the character. Sometimes the characters are going off course to where you need them to go, so you need to put extra things that you didn't realize you needed to put there in order to get them back on track.
I think in One Piece that's happening quite a lot, because Oda keeps talking about how he writes new arcs and new storylines just because that feels like the right thing to do. Like it's just happening kind of. Yeah.
No, I totally get it, especially with One Piece, which is on a scale like nothing near to anything I've ever tried attempting. I can't imagine what adding an extra island does. Right? Just
to the entire production.
To the entire story, and then you add all these moving parts with not just like the Straw Hat crew, but all of these moving parts with different characters. And hell yeah, I can understand why he intended for this to be like a short, like 10-year story. And I
mean, it is. Are you familiar with the God Valley incident?
No,
does that ring? Okay, that's kind of where you remember like Rocks and stuff who was introduced.
Yes.
So yeah, that's like the entire God Valley thing where like Garp and Roger team up to defeat Rocks. Is like the story.
Yes.
So without any spoilers, that is the flashback is happening right now in the manga.
Right.
And we already knew like the Rocks crew, like the Big Mom and Kaido and all these characters were on that crew, on that one crew, right? It is insane reading that right now, how suddenly all these previous arcs are just elevated. Like there are many arcs in One Piece that when you watch or read them for the first time, like Fishman Island, Thriller Bark, even Skypiea, I know a lot of people just don't really vibe with too much. Watching those back like later on in the story, like it is insanely fun to see how you retroactively can elevate previous parts of your story just by adding detail and context. So learning so much about, you know, like the previous Yonko and you know, like their interaction with this and that. It's super fun, which kind of goes in, like I think what you say, like layering, you can do layering throughout the story too and add context to things that happened earlier, right? One thing I wanted to talk to you about, have you seen the Netflix anime, what is it, Oni Girl? It's the guy who, it's from last year, I think.
Oni Girl?
Yeah, so it's like this young boy who kind of like, everyone makes you, like, just exploits him because he doesn't really have, like, any friends and opinions, and then he meets this, like, whitehead girl.
I don't think I have.
Okay. It's generally like, I think it tries to be a little bit Ghibli-esque. It's a quite nice story, but I bring it up because I only watched it yesterday, so it's very fresh in mind. It's a good story. The voice actor for the main character, is very clearly inexperienced, because even though the character on screen is like like full of emotion, screaming, the guy is kind of just like, hey, kind of like this. And like, it has never hit me actively as much as yesterday, just because you brought up the voice acting, how bad voice acting can like take so much away. Like, if the voice actor just cannot convey the emotion properly, like it took me out of the story so hard 2 or 3 times. Where like clearly the guy just was uncomfortable actually like screaming in the studio.
Oh my god. Voice acting brings an extra dimension to the characters that you don't normally think about until you kind of like hear until you hear the voice acting.
And you got very lucky also. I mean, Rin's voice actor, she has like some really like some major roles now.
Yeah, she has some main roles. She was fairly unknown when I casted her, and I can't say the names of the people who auditioned for Rin. And to me, I went into this blind as well, in terms of I purposely didn't look at any of the names. And then I looked at the names afterwards, and I was like, oh, there are some big roles here. there are some very, very big roles here that auditioned for Rin. But I was very, very lucky because I kind of went with the approach that I wanted to pick the voice that was best suited for the character, as opposed to picking the voice that was probably like the most recognizable or had the most on their resume.
Yeah.
And I honestly think, at least in anime, in the Japanese sphere at least, there is a bar that is very likely, that is normally set, because Japanese voice actors are insanely talented in what they do, and it's very, very competitive here. So,
I mean, yeah, and then you needed to do it double again for the English dub too.
For the English dub, which I'm very happy that Connor was able to voice direct that for me. And I think
he just casually pulled that one out.
Casually pulled that one out.
I did some voice acting, so of course I can do the voice acting direction. Because why not?
Well, I trusted him to do it because I think YouTubers might get a bad image sometimes of just like, you're just a YouTuber. But I hope that, I've been able to prove, not just with myself, but, with people like Connor, with my own wife, Sydney, as well, that there is genuine skill that comes down to making YouTube videos, and those skills can be applied in a creative field.
I mean, I could not agree more. We've recently had this conversation in a different context, but I do think that it's not always the same skill set, obviously, but I think people who survive, I will say, or who make it on YouTube, I think everyone has something unique about them.
Yeah.
And that could be different things. That could be production skills, right? Like in terms of editing or research. It could be personality, right? I think like someone like Connor, for example, who has like great personality and just like the most likable and extroverted, vibe. I think you're obviously, I will say you have a great sense of humor also, but obviously your production also is like a big one, and it can be like this myriad of things. Yeah. But I do agree. You need something to actually, like, people need to find something about your content that is actually enticing, right? Yeah.
At least, there's a difference between blowing up. I feel like in the day and age of the algorithm, you're actually more likely to blow up than you're not, especially with shorts. We're in an age where you can have this like video just get viral out of nowhere. That's not the harder part. The harder part to me is actually maintaining an audience and consistency and actually building a career, which I believe is the hard part. Because like I said, in terms of like TikTok and shorts, especially, the most random videos can go viral. And if you can get that once, you're like, okay, you post enough, maybe you'll get that once. Consistently doing that, that's the difficult part. Yeah.
We got a quick refill here off screen.
We do.
Cheers.
We do. Cheers to that.
Culture. The world building. World building duo.
The world building.
Okay, I have I kind of want to get a little bit into your future plans with animation and all, but I have one question that I'm very embarrassed to ask, and I still need to know. Yeah. Can you explain Anne's character to me? Because I still have not quite wrapped my head around what her relationship with Rin really like. Are they blood related, or is she just kind of like watching over her?
Okay. So Anne's character is what? Okay, this is where, you know, I added a little bit of my own culture into there, because I was a little bit selfish. But Rin calls Anne her auntie, and that's because in Southeast, or at least in Thai culture, family friends everyone is an auntie, everyone is an uncle. Whenever I go back home and I go to a family reunion, my mum introduced me, oh, this is your auntie and this is your uncle. Is it my actual blood auntie or uncle? I have no idea.
They might be.
they do might be. So
was Anne already in that world? Because obviously we kind of see her, you know, going through pregnancy basically throughout that 1 year, right? Yes. That Rin is spending in Japan. So you kind of, and she already has a kid as well. So presumably she was there before Rin came, right?
Yes. So she is very good friends with Daichi. And she is basically, you know, narratively, she's the link between how you kind of like suss out that this is like different timelines. But within the context of the world, An is Daichi's close friend that Rin Rin obviously knows, and she kind of like grew up with, because
someone is very
very angry right now.
I mean, the mics are good, probably doesn't even pick it up, but someone was just like honking for like a good 20 seconds there.
They're like, he's wrong. They're like, he's wrong. No! But An is Daichi's friend, and Daichi as a character is very, very similar to my own father, in that he's worried about Rin, but he doesn't directly tell that to her. And what my dad does, which is something very similar to what Daichi does with An, is whenever my dad is worried about me, he will ask my mum to either contact me or look after me. And my mum will ask me certain questions, and I don't think my dad knows that I suss out whenever I know my mum's worried, and whenever my dad's word is coming out through my mum. And so essentially, when Daichi found out that Rin was going to euthania, he basically asked An to just look after Rin, without intruding, you know, without being overly intrusive. Just have a look out for her.
Because presumably, because An has the phone message, right?
Yes.
That Daichi gave her.
Yes.
You kind of get the impression that Daichi doesn't really feel like visiting back in Japan. Mm-hmm. Did he bring the phone with him at some point without meeting Rin, or did An travel back?
An traveled back.
Okay.
Yeah. This was before she got pregnant.
Okay.
So she traveled back. And if you noticed, in Rin's timeline, An at the beginning of the story isn't pregnant yet, and then she is pregnant, and that's after she receives the phone from Daichi. And the way that she can tell if Rin is doing well or not is because of the colors of their wings, which is how she is able to infer if Rin is doing okay or if Rin isn't doing okay without actually needing to be there and talking to her. And
I think that is like hinted at in the story as well.
Yes.
Right? Like we can't lie.
Euthanians can't lie to each other.
Yeah,
at least, yeah.
And I think we also see at the end, right before. Oh no, actually, it's even after Rin goes back to her home that we do see Daichi's parents also quickly, right?
Yes. Very, very quickly.
Do they? Did you think about whether they still have a relationship with Daichi or?
One scene I'm very sad we had to cut was Daichi's Daichi has a phone call with his mum after kind of not having the best relationship with his mum. And to me, if Daichi was the protagonist, if Daichi was the protagonist, like we decided, that was a scene that would have been pivotal to his story, because he does have a moment where he understands the worries that his mum was going through, and maybe it manifested in a toxic way that obviously he didn't understand at the time, but he has more of an understanding and a love for his mum that he didn't fully comprehend when he first moved to Euthania. So they are in the process of kind of like reconnecting with each other, at least when Rin kind of like moved out.
Okay. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, obviously, there's like so many other questions. I think I'm very fascinated as a fantasy lover too. I'm very curious. I assume like some of the creatures we see attacking the dragon.
Yeah.
Are they after the egg, or are they after just the cadaver basically of the god? And I assume that they're also based on mythology, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So every 200 years, the dragon goes through a cycle of kind of like giving birth, and this is
turning into the ultimate chibi form.
Yes. And this is actually the time when it's at its weakest. And at this time, you can see a lot of the water. This is one of like the only water source, obviously, within this land area. But in this one time, a lot of the water sources elsewhere has also like dried up. And this is how you know that the cycle is about to happen. So that is why at this one point, the village needs to protect the Naga from other creatures, because they get drawn to the only water source within the land, okay. And that's why the attack happens.
So they're kind of there after the water, basically.
Yes,
okay.
yes. Kind of
interesting.
Yes, it's something that they kind of like naturally gravitate towards during this 200-year cycle, because it's the only time where the Naga isn't actually like the apex predator. And it's the one time where they can approach without fear of retaliation. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now I have, I think, my biggest curiosity gaps filled there too.
that's good.
I needed some lore clarifications from the source.
I mean, it warms my heart whenever people have lore like questions, just because I remember, after the premiere, when I've done Q&As before, and normally it's just like, the typical YouTuber Q&As. And this was the one time when, the Q&A was genuinely just people asking me about like deeper lore questions and stuff like that. And I'm like, wait, you guys care? What?
No, absolutely.
What? Because there's obviously a difference between knowing the lore and actually detailing what parts of the lore is actually important to show off to tell the story you want to tell. But I'm very glad, honestly. I'm very happy.
I mean, again, I think I told you that in the theater too. I think we're close enough friends that I would have told you if I thought it was not good enough. And I genuinely think it turned out really fantastic. So
yeah. I mean, how did you get into like deep diving into like obviously like One Piece lore and stuff like that? 'Cause
I think so. I think I told this story to you before, but just to quickly reiterate for the audience too, like I got into anime quite late in my life, maybe like 16, 17, like late high school, early university. But then I really like absorbed it, right?
Yeah.
And kind of parallel to that, I had already gotten really interested in like movie making. And like from childhood on, I was like super obsessed with like Lord of the Rings and like some other like big fantasy works, right? Like Wheel of Time and stuff, which I reference on this podcast and on my main channel to some people's displeasure on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got very fascinated with the idea of how do people, I always understood how people come up with ideas, because
Mm-hmm.
I think I also always had a lot of, or have a lot of ideas for stories and characters,
Yeah.
but very fascinated by, you know, how would you even ever like get about organizing all that into a cohesive thing, right? Into a cohesive story, into a cohesive character. And also, like, I got very fascinated by the idea. I think when you're younger and just like sometimes consuming stuff to have like something, I don't know, like watching How I Met Your Mother while you're playing Minecraft or something is like something I remember very vividly. And it helped me learn English, by the way, very well. But I kind of got curious into like, okay, why do certain stories touch me so much more than others? And why am I so obsessed with Lord of the Rings, but like certain other stories, I'm just kind of like, yeah, they're nice, but you know, I wouldn't care about watching them twice,
Right.
or reading through the book another time or something. And I think that's how I originally got into it. And then, you know, filmmaking, I think starting YouTube was like a crazy catalyst for that, just because it kind of like I got very, it didn't force me necessarily. I just got very interested in making movies, and dove even deeper, as you said, in like interviews and like learning, you know, how people create stories like professionally.
Yeah.
And I think the first few YouTube videos I made about One Piece were more like kind of like trying stuff, and it was more about actually like recording videos. But very quickly I was like, okay, this is actually like there are things about One Piece that I at this point already knew I thought were really cool. It was also like, I think 2018 when I started my channel was also a time where like Nerd Writer and like a lot of the very you know, like video essayists were really big. And I was like, actually I think that this is like strongly underappreciated how good the writing is in this, because I think like back in the time it was like a lot of, you know, like, oh, you know, Zoro versus like who's the strongest, right? Which is fun, and I like that, and I like talking about that today too. I have moved away also from like super like strict video essay content. I think at a certain point everything is set, and I still like to comment on new stuff. But yeah, I think that's in the end how I got started on it, and I think that's also how I got my break on YouTube, is doing character deep dives. I did a series on the Straw Hats, like character arcs and character development and writing, and then I did back in like some of the most iconic moments in One Piece, like the I Want to Live and stuff like that, and the Zoro when nothing happened, and kind of like breaking down, maybe like also like pretentiously over analyzing obviously a little bit, but that was really fun. And I think so yeah, that kind of intensified that passion. And I'm sure you know, and I'm sure that like writing your own story and completing it is like that feeling by 100. But like when I now watch stories, I mean YouTube videos of even like super critically, because you know what goes into making a YouTube video, so you're always like, oh, this is what this person was trying to do here, and this and that, and like this editing tip. Like now, actually, you having written your own story, it must be crazy going like actually watching it. I think it kind of like separates really stories where you're like, okay, if you can enjoy this now with all the background knowledge you have, it must be very special. But like stories that kind of like mess things up that you now feel like are basic knowledge, like also stabs you a little bit more in the face. I'm sure you must have. Do you not have that so much?
I don't know. I think I've more grown in appreciation on just how hard it is just to make a story. Make a production. It won't stop me from like criticizing story, but it's definitely made me more empathetic in what could have gone wrong, which is kind of like, I think, a balancing act, you know, where I'm just like, I think a lot of authors and a lot of creators are more self-aware than people think. Like we talked about at the beginning, where I talked about like, you know, the criticisms, and there's been nothing that I feel like has been said that I didn't already know about my own work. And I feel like a lot of authors are the same, even with, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be authors. You know, I think a lot of creators I talk to, whatever field, the biggest critic is themselves. Unfortunately, the biggest critic is themselves.
Well, it's probably not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. Yeah.
I usually like to live by the credo. If I watch a video from half a year ago on my channel, and I don't find it cringe, that's probably a bad sign.
It's you gotta constantly change and constantly evolve. And I think, you know, even in terms of stories, one big factor, and a factor that I, you know, did not take into account with my own work is everyone wants to tell a good story. Is it going to make money? Is it going to make money? I luckily have the privilege of not needing to worry about if this particular project made money because it was funded by me. A lot of authors do not have that same privilege. A lot of authors, they need to think more about how wide appealing is the story. Like I said, this story Baan definitely appealed to people that went through the same experience as me. Is it as wide appealing if I told another story? Absolutely not. Maybe I would need to water down some aspects or have different characters that appeal to a wider audience. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about, and I certainly didn't think about because the business aspect of storytelling is, you can either be a starving artist or you can also
make a living out of it.
Make a living. And, you would like to think that there is a way that you can do both. You can tell an amazing story and also have it appeal to a wide audience.
And I think it's also easy to underestimate, obviously, that, unless I don't think there's anyone who privately just casually funds. I mean, again, just the 18 minutes,
just an 18 minutes,
already a small fortune, right? Yeah. And then doing a whole anime season or like a Hollywood movie, which is like always where like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes,
you're gonna have a lot of people who are gonna be like, "This is our money," or "We need to make money."
Exactly.
You better put, I don't know, like a very cute anime girl in this. You better
need to change this.
We need a cool fight scene or something.
You need to change this aspect of the story or we are going to pull our funding. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of stories, behind the scenes of just how much projects have changed just because other people, there are other investors or other people that you need to please that goes against the type of product that you want to make. I can understand why there are so many stories about this badass aura farming dude because there's a market for it,
Hey, and like turns out I'm actually level 9,998.
I'm like, yes, I understand. A lot of this is, slop.
Ooh. Can I give you another really bad isekai take?
Sure.
I really like the spider anime.
You're just naming good isekai.
Is it good? Okay, all right.
That is not.
I think I'm just looking for validation for my takes here. Okay, is that approved?
That is approved.
Thank God. I'm still waiting for a second season on that. Like, I don't know what happened to that show, but it was the first season was just really good.
See, there is like isekai slop. There's slop in every genre. I think one genre that is getting like a lot of copy paste stuff now is actually outside of isekai. Funnily enough, is the romance genre.
Oh.
I don't know how much romance stuff you watch.
I'm more than I'm happy to admit.
But there's like so much. Like in the seasons, people are obviously going to point to stuff like Rent a Girlfriend and stuff like that. I'm not even talking about Rent a Girlfriend. There is so much romance stories where the whole concept is here's a guy and here's a girl and the girl has a quirk.
And he is a bit socially awkward or something.
Yes, he's socially awkward and here's a girl. She has a weird quirk. That's it. That's the romance show. And I'm like, how many quirks do we have?
I think one anime in the recent years that really stood out to me was Summertime Render.
Oh, that was good.
But I have like, whenever I try talking about it, I have such a hard time communicating it too, because it kind of goes through, first of all, I think the level of romance they did in that show was just like perfect, because it's not it's not a romance story, but it has like a nice anime romance that I think anime either go full romance or they like kind of like don't care about the romance.
Yeah.
But also the show goes through like this weird mix of genres throughout. I can't, like, how would you it's like it's mystery, but then it gets like supernatural, and
I would say it's mostly a mystery show. But it goes to some weird twists and turns.
It has like a nice, like, weirdly enough, even though there's a lot of violence in it, it also has this weird slice of life, like beach vibe sometimes.
Yeah. Got this ReZero vibe as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it was just a very entertaining
fun story.
It was a very fun story. Yeah.
And Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it, but like I was a little bit afraid at the end if they were gonna stick the landing, and I did feel like they stuck it.
Yeah.
And I think it was, as far as I can remember, in the last couple of years, it was the only show that I actually binged in like less than 2 days.
It's a very bingeable show. I showed it to Sydney, and we binged it in like 2 days, I think, and it was very, very fun. Yeah. I also think that maybe like I know I mentioned romance, but I think romance in general just doesn't appeal to me as much anymore. I feel like maybe subconsciously you always search for stories to fill in a gap that you're not experiencing yourself. And I know as a married man, I just go out and search for romance less. That doesn't mean I can't appreciate it, but I think inherently it just appeals less to me than it maybe used to when I mean,
I do kind of like it when it's sprinkled in into like something. Like if it's not the main focus, but there is like a nice romance
I like
element
to romance elements.
Yeah. Especially when they're kind of done a little bit more maturely than anything. Yeah. I'm trying to think. There was like a story recently. Have you I mean the anime was like have you Blue Box?
I'm okay with Blue Box.
I thought like the manga was quite good.
Okay, I've only watched the anime season 1.
Yeah, the anime didn't hit as hard.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't the romance that impressed me the most. The romance that have impressed me the most recently in terms of TV series is probably Dangers in My Heart, which was very, very good. The Fragrant Flower Blooms Into You is I'm enjoying that a lot. But the actual romance that has impressed me the most recently is the Chainsaw Man movie. I don't know if you've seen it yet. I haven't
seen it yet.
Oh, you
gotta watch it. Gotta watch it.
Yeah.
I'm actually going this weekend.
You're actually going this week? Yeah, highly recommend. I won't spoil then.
Okay.
But that has impressed me a lot.
Nice. Actually, like another series that at first I was a bit skeptical about, because it like just from the packaging it looks a little bit shallow and kind of falls into like the quirk.
Yeah.
So like category was the Bunny Girl anime.
Bunny Girl Senpai?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because that one like gets surprisingly deep actually. And there's like 2 movies that I think are even better than the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I enjoyed quite a lot.
I enjoyed Bunny Girl Senpai a lot. I haven't watched the movies yet.
They're really, I do strongly recommend them, yeah.
But I know the latest arc. They're in university now, which is...
okay. All right.
Which I've heard. I haven't watched yet.
Okay. Is it out already? I didn't know that.
It was airing last season.
Oh, okay.
So,
missed out on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
I was waiting for a new season too.
There's just so much anime
I think there was the season and there was like 3 movies. Okay, there's already a new one. Okay.
Yeah, there's already a new season. That's
that's
out. Yeah, there's just so much anime nowadays that even
it's insane.
Even I can't keep up with everything.
I mean, I did go to the bookstore recently. And like when you go to like the light novel section or something, I swear like every second book is like anime coming soon. And I'm like, of this? I was like, there was like this random, like, I was like picking it up. It was like this girl making potions and like, anime coming soon. And I'm like, okay, sounds about right. So if you see an anime about a girl making potions, you heard it here first.
I mean, I know 2 anime about girls making potions, I think, or at least I think it's potions, and they're both isekais. That every isekai concept has already been done. It's already been done. Yeah. It's somehow.
Oh, what are your thoughts on Dungeon Meshi?
Oh, that's peak, bro. That's peak.
Yeah.
You're just spitting peak right now.
All right, dude. I'm just getting points here for my ego, I guess, for my anime taste.
Yeah, come back to me when you've watched level 999 Gacha Lord in a dungeon or something. That's airing
the fridge one. The vending machine. The vending machine one. At least that one doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah, at least that one knows
what's happening,
what it wants to be, and it fully leans into it.
Before I let you go, what is like up next in life, I guess, for Gigguk? Are you, because I mean we talked a little bit about it obviously privately, between YouTube and now having tasted the production world.
I don't know what the future holds or what kind of opportunities I will get, and I also don't want to shoot myself in the foot too early in case a big mistake is talking about projects too early and then having them either be cancelled or never, or being 5 years delayed or whatever.
But Baan might not be the last.
I don't want Baan to be the last. That's what I will say. I don't want it to be the last. I will say that I don't know what future opportunities could come out of it right now. That's something that I will be exploring within the next year or so.
It's quite the thing to put on your portfolio too, I will say.
But what I will promise is I will always continue to push myself creatively. And I already am thinking about future projects, not necessarily anime projects, but just future projects that will push myself creatively outside of just what I've been doing. And that's about all I can say right now at this stage.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is the same thing I've been doing for the past 10 years on YouTube, which is always doing something new.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
And it's always been always a pleasure watching you, strive and do new stuff. Very inspirational.
Thank you.
I'm always I think sooner or later I kind of want to dip my toes in writing and
do it
too.
I've heard that you are just on the precipice of I
have stuff. Yeah.
You're curious about it. Just do it.
And I'm just waiting for that moment where I'm just gonna hand you that script and you're like,
yeah,
I can't wait to read this. And slowly the face going this is so bad. It's maybe if you twist everything a little bit. Well, man, it was a real pleasure having you on.
Thank you very much.
As always, second time already.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, but I did need to do the special Baan version. And again, links to everything, obviously,
in the
description. Can't wait for the documentary. And
check out the documentary now that it's out.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah. Anytime. Pleasure.
Anytime.